Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Coffee Break, and I am back with the CoffeeCast ProCast edition, where I'm bringing you two really good players and doing it. I'm doing it. On this edition, we are going to have imbaStrelok spawning as our red Terran in the top left side, and ESCJaxx spawning as the green Protoss player here on the right side. Now, I've actually really found the TVP metagame kind of interesting lately, and before I actually go into that, something even cooler to mention. Look at this. Look at that little guy. Aww, that is just awesome. I wonder if Strelok has any. No, he just has the standard Terran icon. Woo! I found the TVP metagame really interesting lately. And actually, I mean, I guess it's kind of been like this for a while, but it's only kind of struck me recently how it's really shifted into. It used to be a lot of one-base Protoss, you know, the Protoss player rushing for Colossi. That was the only thing you could get to, you know, play against a Terran player. They would rush to Colossi on one base and then push out with this giant nasty ball at around 120, 130 supply. And if that failed, well, then they kind of expanded behind it, crossed their fingers, and prayed. And Terrans would just kind of sit back on one base, maybe go up to two base on a fast expand if they felt like it, you know. And they would do drop until the Protoss player moved out, and then one of two things happened. Either they killed the Protoss army, and mainly killed the Colossi associated with that army, and then we're able to just kind of push on in and destroy the Protoss base, or the Protoss army killed the Bio army, and it was game over for the Terran player. So I mean, it was really just, you know, that one big engagement at the end of the game, after the Terran was harassing with drops constantly, and it only got to about the 15 or 20 minute mark. And now you're seeing a different dynamic completely. I mean, that doesn't even register anymore. You will almost never ever see a one base Protoss in pretty much any matchup but PvP. And I've been kind of wondering why. I've been exploring it a little bit. And one thing I've really noticed is that Protoss players have gone to a massive amount of gateway play. Very massive amount of gateway play, in which they'll start off with something like this. A one gate expand is more likely than not what this build is going to be. You do see that this second gas has not yet been taken. You'll see a one gate expand, there we go, and then he'll drop two more gateways, get a robo, and then probably gateway. And I'm not saying that's exactly what Jaxx is going to do. I actually don't know. But that's a lot of what you're seeing Protoss players do lately. And the gateway-centric play really frees up a lot of extra resources to do other things. You can go Archon now. You can go Blink Stalker Colossus off of 2 base. And in the meantime, you have the Terran side of things where, you know, they used to drop, and then suddenly, bam! You have the emergence of the Slayers clan in about the mid-summer of last year, and they kind of, they slowly morphed the gameplay style into more of this, yeah, you can do a little bit of poking and prodding, but nothing committed. You have nothing committed, okay? So they'll go in with Hellions and try to do a little bit of damage, but they'll back out as soon as they see any sort of defense coming. You know, they won't lose a Hellion. They don't even want to get shot. They'll, you know, maybe do a little bit of a drop in the back of the base, but they might just take out one pylon and back out really fast, and then just say, okay, we're done with drops. We're done with drops. And there was kind of that emergence of style. And then MVP really came up and said, I don't even need to drop. You know, you have I am MVP, who just goes up to 3 base super fast. He is the epitome of macro Terrans. And he'll just get a very big army and just clobber you with it. And it's really led to this interesting dynamic between Protoss and Terrans where there's not really any aggression at all. Protoss vs. Terran has become a super passive type of gameplay. And I just find it that interesting that the gameplay has shifted so much so in the fact that you don't even really see drop play anymore. And there's a lot of times when I feel drop play would benefit a player, even if Jaxx is, you know, super good at defending a drop. If he is engaged with his main army in the middle of a fight, he's going to be less effective at holding that drop off. And I just feel like, I don't know, Terrans have abandoned that strategy when really they could be utilizing it to its maximum potential. now that I've gone off on a good, 7 minutes into the game, now that I've gone off into about a 6-minute rant and completely destroyed whatever happened in the early game, fast expand from Jaxx, fast expand from Strelok, there we are up to where we are currently in the game. Down goes our Ghost Academy, and oh gosh, don't even get me started on my Ghost rant, how those used to never be used. There goes the Ghost Academy, only 3 racks down on the field right now. I would really like to see another rack to dropped fairly quickly now for Strelok, as, I mean, yeah, he's teching up nicely, but he's not getting a lot of production power. And that's something that the Protoss players always have, is a lot of production power. We do see 3 gateways down on the field and a robotics coming up, just like I was saying earlier. This is really a popular sort of play, as the robotics allows you to get that observer out to see what your opponent is doing. If there are cloaked banshees on the way, you can detect those. And also it allows you to get immortals out if there's if you want to bust up a ramp, or it allows you to go Colossus tech if you need some AoE. And it's really just kind of a wide open strategy going for that Robotech. It does look like Jaxx is looking to do a little bit of engagement here. Does put up that Guardian Shield and try to charge up the ramp. There's quite a bit here for Strelok, though, and I don't know if this is going to do a lot of damage. However, all the Marauders, the Marines and Marauders are falling very quickly to this Zealot attack, because the force field had a very, very nice concave around those units. However, once again, it's not going to quite be enough for Jaxx to be able to push up, and he's going to lose actually quite a few of his sentries. I think he lost 5, maybe even 6 sentries. Might lose this last one as well. Yes, indeed he will. And now turning around these Stalkers for some reason, just to pick off a single Marine. Could have lost those 2 Stalkers as well, and now falling back all the way home. And now it is Strelok's turn to try to be a little bit aggressive. He does have 2 goats out on the field with EMP ready, and that is exactly that's a beautiful time to try to move out. If he is able to get EMPs down on these sentries, and Jaxx is not able to get force fields down, then he's not going to be able to do too much. He only got 1 sentry EMP though, so now all these units are trapped on the ramp because of these 2 force fields, and they all do fall, and now there was quite the even little exchange between these 2 players, and we are back to a completely even macro game. I was talking a little bit earlier about how it can be a very, very passive matchup. A lot of the time you will see kind of little counteractments in this matchup as well, where you saw the Protoss army push up the ramp, and it really didn't do too much damage. You know, it killed a few units off, but the Protoss lost quite a few units himself. And the Terran player sees an opportunity, pushes it out, and then loses a bunch of units on the Protoss ramp. And once again, we're right back to where we were before. Harper's account shows that we were just in a little bit of a lead for our Protoss player. However, imbaStrelok is going up to 3 base now. No 3rd Nexus has been begun yet for Jaxx. Just now getting this probe up here to begin production on that. And actually, doesn't even look like he's getting ready to put that Nexus down. It's rallying back to the mineral line, putting this pylon here to be able to scout a drop in case a drop is on the way. We do have Colossus coming out onto the field now. And Thermal Lance will be finished in about 30 seconds or so, about 45 seconds actually. And only now are we seeing a couple of extra gateways dropped. I think these gateways are coming in a little bit late. I think these definitely could have come out a little bit earlier in the game. I mean, it's good that he's getting them down now, but he could have had a lot more production power. You do see that he's actually banking a little bit. And I understand wanting to wait until you see what your opponent is using, what your opponent has in his army. That's perfectly fine. That's a great strategy. However, that last engagement was about 2 or 3 minutes ago, and these gateways are only now being dropped about a minute ago. So it just seems kind of like a slow reaction from Jaxx in that right. Doesn't look like it's going to matter too much though, as they are both still fairly even on supply. But don't let supply fool you. I mean, you have to look at the tech and the upgrades as well. Right now, Strelok is only on tier 2 tech with those ghosts on the field, dropping a couple more reactor barracks to be able to ramp up his ghost and marauder production. It's quite a nice little force here on the field, but it has absolutely nothing on the field to deal with the Colossus, to which there are only 2 of on the field right now. But once this 3rd Colossus gets out, it is going to be a very, very powerful combination. And I would actually expect Jaxx to wait until that 3rd Colossus is ready to engage before trying to engage this army here. This is a fairly well bunkered down position, one bunkered down on the field, a second one coming up as well. Jaxx might even benefit from trying to break down these back rocks, force Strelok out of position, which he has not quite done yet. Now just going to outrange, because these Colossus do have a range of 9, just going to outrange these units down here with that extended thermal lance. And here comes the 3rd Colossus. I would expect this is going to about be the time that Jaxx decides to attack. Now he is banking a lot of resources right now. There's no reason to be banking that many resources. And look at that. I want to talk about that in just a second, but in the meantime we do have an engagement. The Colossus coming up, trying to roast away at the bunkers. That was the wrong thing to target fire there. These Colossus should really be focusing on the biological units. However, it does look like the biological units are doing quite a bit of damage back at the Protoss army. There were quite a few Marauders on the field. It did look like a couple of EMPs went down as well on this top side, but I don't know. It looked like Jax might be able to push up with these superior Colossus numbers. A lot of the ground army for Jax has fallen, but once again, all of the Colossus remain, and that's really what you need to be able to take out to hold off an attack. If he's able to shoot on the ramp here, we'll be able to take out quite a few SCVs. Indeed, he does, and now falling back, probably advisable to go up into the third base instead of the natural expansion. But it does look like, once again, look at this bank for Jax right there. That is 1,200 minerals, 1,300 minerals in the bank to really spend this, but I don't think it's going to matter as these three Colossus just doing so much damage. There are a couple of Vikings on the field now, but there are also 8 Stalkers to be able to clean this up, even without Blink. And there's a Nats tank for Vikings to face. And now it does look like Strelok just on the last pose of his defense. It does look like, oh my gosh, one Colossus still left with 10 health remaining. This Colossus is chasing it down, and that Colossus does fall. The Viking was chasing it down. And now we have fallen 84 to 64 supply, and once again, no drop counterattack, which is what I really would have liked to see. That would have put Jax on a back foot, and now just now getting around to spending a few minerals, warping in some Stalkers as well as doing a double forward. But again, I think that's just kind of a unnecessary, well, a necessary precautionary measure. You never know if your opponent is going to be able to make some sort of miraculous comeback, but I just do not see it happening in this game. Strelok trying to pump forces out as fast as he possibly can. With only 6 barracks here and a lone starport with 5 Vikings queued up, there is not too much that he can do. There is one Colossus left with 24 health, very, very low in that ride. A few more hours stimming up, trying to take out another Colossus, and that Colossus doesn't need full, so there is actually only one Colossus left on the field. It doesn't matter too much though. Now going to a third base, Jax is in a very, very good position. Another warping of Stalkers. These also moving up into the main. Actually, there are quite a few Stalkers down here, just not really doing anything. And now that the last Colossus has fallen, a few Marauders are actually able to clean up what was left of the Stalkers. But again, Strelok just so far behind now in the supply count and in the harvest count. It is currently 58 to 16, 14. Oh, there we go. Now the Stalkers going into third base. Able to clean up a few of the remaining SCVs on the field. I believe there were only 10 left. Indeed, only 10 left on the field. Cleaning up the Marauders, focus firing those down, making sure that those cannot do too much damage before falling back. Actually losing quite a few Stalkers in that engagement. And while he is quite far ahead, Jax needs to make sure not to force anything. I can't tell you how many games players have lost, especially players like Idra, if I may say so myself. How many games players have lost just because they thought they were ahead, thought they'd already won the game, gave up on macro, and then it turns out they were not quite as far ahead as they originally thought. There's quite a little biological force there for Strelok. Jax really needs to fall back and just start going back up on that Colossus production. I would actually advise to run all the way home in this case. There is really not much left for Strelok, and Jax can happily go back to his base and just try to macro up, get some upgrades out, which is exactly what he's doing now. Looks like Strelok is pushing out, does have a slight upgrade advantage, but only for a very, very brief moment. And with this one Colossus on the field, I think that Jax will have more than enough to hold off any sort of attack that Strelok throws at him. Strelok can actually go into the third base now, try to take out a lot of those probes or that Nexus. But once again, he's just going to be sandwiched up there by this Colossus. And a lot of units, now Force Field's going down as well, trapping a lot of those units on the ramp. And the supply count rapidly falling once again for Strelok. Just does not have the force that he needs to be able to take out Jax, not the unit composition that he needs to take out Jax. It looks like Jax is indeed going to be able to push up this ramp, and as a matter of fact, will get away with only 2 units left in it. But once again, Strelok just so far behind at this point in the game. It is 51 to 15 harvesters, so a few were lost by Jax in that engagement. But if you look at the workers killed station, Jax has killed 56 workers, and Strelok has only killed 16 workers. And you can really just see that in the harvest count, 53 to 18. Units lost tab, I always like looking at this late in the game. 17,000 for Strelok, 13,000 for Jax. So a huge advantage for Jax in that ride. Now, Strelok trying to take down the back rock, stimming up to come up and take out these Colossus, but in the meantime he's having to ignore all the Zealots and Stalkers wailing away at his army. And now the Colossus is putting up very, very nice force goes using this Vespian Gudger to the Protoss' advantage. And there, finally, is the GG from Strelok, knowing that he just cannot come back into this game, only mining off of 1 base to the 3, maybe 2.5 base from Jax. A very, very well played game by Jax, recognizing that his opponent was going Ghost and making Colossus to counter that. Colossus, the reason why I say Colossus are such a great counter to Ghost is that they're not reliant on energy or shields at all. If you look at the shield count, it is actually, I mean, it's less than the health count for a lot of the Protoss units, but in comparison to something like an Archon, when an Archon loses its shield, its game is over. It is out. I mean, it's gone. It's gone. It only has 10 health. And if a High Templar loses its energy, it's worthless unless you're going to morph it into an Archon, and Ghosts still counter the Archon. So, Protoss players out there, anytime you see your opponent going Ghost, if you have the ability, go into Colossus, because it will also mean that they got a later factory or a later starport, more likely than not. And Ghosts just do not counter Colossus all that well. I thank you all for joining me here on the CoffeeCast. If you have not already, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Go to Facebook, check me out there. Just type in Coffee Break with an O. You can find me. And lastly, go to Twitter and follow me there. That's how you will always know when I'm going live. And I am Ben Coffee Break, Ben_Coffee Break with a 0. That is all I have for this cast. Thank you very much once again for joining me. And until next time, this is Coffee Break, signing out.